I'm drinking like it is vodka, but it is water with ice. It's how people drink here in Texas water. Water with ice. Pretty simple, but quite effective. It's helping you to refresh better yourself. And yes, let's drink a little bit, and we will start to talk about different types of governments. And I'm sure it will be enjoyable for everyone, including for me, because, come on, I love such stuff, really love. Oh my gosh, I was right about this, that I added ice like people, Houstonians do, and not only. And yes, today we will watch video. It's named Every Type of Government Explained. And as I decided before, and I was sharing with you before, that I will watch more videos about political stuff where I will be able to gain something new for me. I want to talk about some topics, and always sometimes when I was talking, lack of information, lack of knowledge. Uh, it wasn't it wasn't so nice for me to talk about some things, but today we will start to change myself. Maybe you will be able to change yourself too, if unless you know everything. But I know a little bit about this world, and I will try to improve my knowledge. And next time, maybe when people will ask me what type of government you can find, I will be able already to explain by myself. To be honest, I believe that everyone in this room, including me and you, in this online room, uh, everyone have basic understanding. Some of them us have better understanding, some of us not so good. But anyway, to watch such video which will be able to help gain knowledge, why not? But before we will start to watch this video, hello to everyone. My name is Alex. I see already a lot of people from our Eagle community. Hello to Frank in Texas. Hello, Dirk. I see your messages. Happy to see all of you. And hello to Steve, and of course, hello to Lisa Marshall. And last one. Yes, it is so enjoyable to see all of you. And yeah, do not forget about likes. Do not forget about your comments. And hello, of course, to Sam Smith Q. Thank you a lot for your message and for your support. I appreciate this a lot. Okay, let's change our background. Oh, yes, we did it. Okay, anyway. Um, this video will be not so big. I mean, compared to what, because in future we will watch much longer videos. It doesn't mean that you need to stay all of this time with us online. Yeah, it's up to you. But for me, I will all this video with you, obviously. I mean, like, I will not walk away. I want to watch until the end. And yes, this video will be just 20 minutes, and let's go. I already was watching couple days ago just for myself from this guy explanation about what is it socialism, what is it communism, what is it capitalism, and etc. Maybe in future I will watch more, not maybe, but for sure, more explained, more diverse lecture, like real lectures with you, and it will look like we are studying together, but that's what I do right now. I'm trying to improve myself. That's my purpose. That's what I'm trying. Yeah, just improving myself in Christmas time. Yes, why not? Okay, let's go.
Hey, I'm Mr. Beat. Government, am I right? Everybody's talking about the government or complaining about the government.
I don't believe in government. I think that all government is a waste of taxpayer money.
But what is the government? Well, according to the dictionary, government means, quote, the governing body of a nation, state, or community. Wow, that's actually not that very helpful. Okay, let's consider the second definition. Quote, the relation between a governed and a governing word. Okay, what the heck? Not helpful
Yes.
either. Okay, so here's a better definition. Government means the people who run a society. See, that wasn't that difficult. More specifically, the folks who make society's rules and actually have.
Yes, it is government which running society, and of course it is just generalization. We can tell just here will be more. I hope more, how to say, detailed
The
explanation.
power and authority to guarantee that those rules are followed. So, what's politics then? Politics? That's just how the power in government is distributed. The purpose of the government is to protect society, more specifically, to resolve conflicts, defend a society from other societies, or provide public services. Now, people.
Oh, I see Russian language. Wow. And I see this flag. I recognize this flag. Солидарность наше оружие, сопротивление наше решение. It's said and okay. Solidarность. How to say this in English? Yes, I do not know some words. It is solidarity. So simple. Solidarity is our weapon, and resistance. It is our decision. We have this sign on black paper or something, whatever. And yes, I want to tell you one thing. He said that government must protect your society. And example, in Soviet Union, government was overprotective, and I started to read one of their. It is kind of small book, but still, of one scientist. His name is Sakharov. Sakharov, maybe you've heard about him. He created nuclear bomb in Soviet time, and I was watching his interesting speech in 1989, when there was period of glasnost, and there was quite interesting speech to listen it. Of course, obviously, it was in Russian language. Maybe in future we will watch this together with English subtitles. Who knows? Because it's always important to rewatch such stuff. Solidarity is our weapon. Yes, Jamie, you're right. And that's sometimes government can be overprotective. And in his book of this nuclear scientist, he is talking about this. Sakharov, maybe you know about him. He created nuclear weapon like H-bomb. H-bomb he created. Okay, let's go. And I found out that pretty easily he was popular because his physicist was physicist. Anyway, you can find the books in English language pretty easy. His books of Sakharov.
often get really passionate about government and politics because the decisions these folks in government make on a daily basis can have a huge effect on all of a society, or even all of the societies in the world. This is also why people have different opinions about the role of government in a society, and even what the best type of government is. In this video, I will explain every major type of government, and at the end of the video, I will reveal my favorite type of government. Oh, and occasionally my friend Dr. David Miano from the channel World of Antiquity will be chiming in. Oh, there he is now. Yeah, hey.
Hey there, Mr. Beat. Thanks for inviting me into this video. I can't wait to dig into this topic with you, and I'll try to shed a little light on the ancient origins of some of these forms of government.
Let's start with two basic categories. Governments are generally either democratic or undemocratic. So our first type of government is democracy. A democracy is any form of government in which the power belongs to the people and is exercised by them. The word democracy comes from the Greek word demos, meaning the people, and kratia, meaning rule. The people rule. In other words, government exists through the consent of the people and reflects the will of the majority. What say you, David?
If we use a looser sense of the word democracy, we could trace its origins all the way back into prehistoric times, when tribes would make decisions through consensus by the majority of members. Sometimes this is called primitive democracy. And actually, with much of our decision-making today, we use primitive democracy. I mean, 5 friends get together and decide what restaurant they're going to eat at. The majority often rules, right? If we're talking specifically about a fully formed governmental system, though, Athens is commonly considered the birthplace.
Yeah. In future, we will watch another lecture about elections. To be honest, I already watched this lecture about elections, but sometimes I like to rewatch stuff. And even if I watched this lecture, it would be nice for me to rewatch this again. Sometimes type of elections, the way how it is very interesting topic, and it is quite important how it's happening in different types of elections around the world you can find. And some of them you can find in Sweden. It is proportional percentage of amount of people. Example, if your party won 34% in elections in Sweden, they have this proportion, they have this equation, how they counting, how many representatives will be in this parliament example. And I think that it is quite interesting to watch this lecture again, because it is helping you to understand how different it can influence on country itself. Example, I'm looking at Russia. Of course, Russia doesn't have these elections. I mean, Russia has formality, this procedure, but it doesn't mean that they're fair or everyone plays by rules. Of course not. Example, we will have soon the elections. Obviously, results already people know. And one of the things here, just I wanted to tell, but by itself, these elections, when they were looking in Russia on Germany, how Germany was had these elections, and in some way Russian elections, it is mixture of systems, but still they were looking pretty often on Germany. If you will look on Russian laws, a lot of laws and these bones of everything was taken from Germany itself. That's I know for sure. And yes, it would be nice to rewatch this. Yeah, it is. Like you said, Jamie dreams fake elections. Even fake elections, I cannot tell this like fake elections. I mean, it is something else. I mean, it is. You cannot name these elections, obviously. It is something just game of one person, or maybe. Yes. Kind of strange thing. It is just. Yeah, ridiculous. Anyway.
Of democracy. It wasn't the only Greek city-state or polis that had democracy, but it appears to have been the first.
And they also game of one party. Yeah, I'm talking about Russia.
It was developed after the overthrow of the tyrant Hippias and devised largely by a fellow named Cleisthenes. He introduced the idea of the equality of rights for all male citizens. Any of them was free to vote and hold office. Women, slaves, foreigners, etc. were left out. But it was progressive for its time because it broke up the class system that had been firmly established in days gone by. Athens had a pure or direct democracy. The citizens as a group made all the decisions directly.
Again, it looks like I'm not trying to look smart. I do not know a lot of things, but we should understand that because pure democracy, I do not believe it's impossible to create system, just impossible, where there will be pure democracy, like pure democracy. Anywhere there will be some voices which will be minorities. What I'm talking about, it is about next lecture we will watch in future. And I hope you will get this. I'm thinking you already know this for sure. Example, yeah, we need definitely to watch this lecture. I already feel this because it's impossible to show all these parties. Example, on one to represent all these parties in one parliament. In Singapore, they do pretty interesting thing. They can give nine president can give nine seats to people which he likes. Example, they need to deserve this example. And it can be artist, it can be singer, it can be whatever, scientist or producer, I don't know. I'm talking about that a lot, of course, depends from system itself. And pure democracy, I do not believe. You can find some countries, including the USA, which is closer or on another level than others to democracy, and they are democracy. Let's be clear. But there will be always some minorities which will not have this representation, and it was always like this.
Government leaders, the archons, were for the most part administrators who followed the will of the people.
Groovy. Thanks. The two main forms of democracy are representative democracy and direct democracy. A direct democracy, also known as pure democracy, is where people, as the name suggests, directly vote on government decisions. Realistically today, direct democracy works better in small communities where citizens can meet regularly to discuss new changes they want to make with their government. The first example of a direct democracy that comes to mind to me would be an industrial democracy in which workers at a workplace would make decisions about how their workplace should be run.
No, it's not Sweden. I'm thinking too much about Sweden. Um, how it's happening probably when we have elections, when people have elections, they have this example. You will represent my people voting for one party, and they're like, okay, we will not do every time elections for every law, but we are giving example you certain amount of time in which you will be able to do what we suppose you like should do. I mean, like, parties have limited time, 4 years, or presidents 5 years, 6 years. It depends of which country we are talking about. And yes, it doesn't mean that sometimes in direct democracy, every decision, every law, for every law you must vote. For every law, of course, it is impossible. That's why people just giving chance to some parties, to some programs, to some representatives to have this limited amount of time. Yeah, looks like this. It is interesting, to be honest. It is interesting. Just I hope that they will say a little bit more about this representative democracy and direct democracy. Maybe some countries, some examples. I want to hear.
Representative democracy is an indirect democracy in which representatives in government vote on behalf of the people they represent. Look, we all have stuff to do. We have jobs to work at, bills to pay, chores to get done around the house, sports to play, and YouTube channels to watch. We don't have time to keep up with everything the government is up to, so we elect politicians, or people who hold or are seeking political office in government. We trust that they will vote in our best interest. This is a representative democracy, and it is by far the most common type of democracy in the world.
Yeah, maybe probably looking on the USA, and they're like, okay, we will take this type of role. It's interesting. Yeah.
It doesn't stop there. There are many, many different types of representative democracies. I won't be going through all of them, but here are a few examples until I get bored with it. The most common type of representative democracy is a republic. Actually, if you look up most definitions of republic in various dictionaries, they use the words republic and phrase representative democracy interchangeably. Weirdos. But basically, a republic is any type of representative democracy where the people have a say in the executive branch, or part of the government that is supposed to carry out the laws. You want to chime in about republics, David?
Yes, the word republic is a name that comes from the Romans. It's Latin for a public thing, and they use it to refer to their governmental system.
You will be surprised, or maybe not, that in Russia you can find a lot of republics inside of Russia. Of course, it is not simple, like it's everything not so simple, but you can find, they call them Republic, just in Russian Respublika. And obviously it doesn't mean that they have own laws inside. I mean, like, probably they have maybe some local regulations, but it's not on such a level where, like in the USA, because every state in America can create own tax laws, own like other like laws of, I don't know, and like even driver license, this place, they can look differently in every state, like Florida, Houston, and Minnesota. But in Russia, everything a little bit different. everything so unified and centralized, and in some way you do not feel so huge differences between all these regions. But yeah, obviously some of them they have more power wheel, I don't know. Some of them they kind of like, but still it depends maybe from governor who is running this place. Okay.
This is prior to the empire. Today, we use it in a more technical sense to mean a representative.
I said some sorry bullshit. In Russia, even governor make not so huge sense. It is quite complicated story. It makes sense, but also doesn't make. It depends on which level you are. But yeah, it depends.
Democracy. And that's what the Romans had. Instead of having the people making decisions directly, the people elected government magistrates and allowed them to make the decisions. If they didn't like what the magistrates were doing, they would elect someone else to take their place at the end of their term. The Roman Republic was led by many officials, but the consuls were at the very top. There were
they have I'm always relying on my lovely country because it is interesting. It is only one experience which I had ever, and they call this Duma. Duma, it is a very interesting word. But one of the things that councils, so that's what I was talking about. They have certain amount of time to make decisions. Yeah, if you was voting for one example party or for one person, nobody guarantee that this person will behave like you want. But you expect him to vote like you want. But it doesn't mean that it will be like you want. I mean, like, it depends, and that's why elections happen, in example, every 4 years. On the next year you will think, okay, I will make my decision like this. Okay, because, example, you didn't like something. Or if you like, okay, I will again vote for this person. Like, that's why it makes sense to make these elections consistently frequently in some period of time. Yeah, it makes sense. It really makes sense. Come on, we have, like, example, millions of people, millions, and all of these millions of people it's impossible, obviously, to do, like, everyone will tell, but it is something that is, yes, yeah, quite representative. That's why it is it's named. Yeah, it is representative. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to think about this topic, but here not so much to think when you do not have so much to say. But the way how he explaining in this video, I like it. It is giving me at least some kind of understanding.
Two of them, each elected for a term of 1 year. The Romans also had a Senate, which advised the government magistrates, and an assembly composed of the citizenry, which made the laws. Sometimes you'll hear about republics existing in ancient India. We don't have much documentation on this, but these governments, usually referred to as Ganasanghas, were from around the time of the Buddha, and they had...
And it is one of the interesting facts that India is the biggest democracy right now. India, the biggest democracy right now. I like this quite interesting thing that I was looking some video about democracy in India, and I will watch in future about this for sure. And it's quite fascinating, really fascinating thing how they do these elections there. Yeah, really fascinating to watch. And in some regions of India, they have they have parties, political parties, which working geographically. They working only on some places, like here in the USA, probably if you are for one party, this party will try to like working for everyone. Like, let's do this like to gain more people. But you can find some political parties which like specifically working only for this region, and such parties you can find in India. It is a really fascinating thing. I want to find out a little bit more about this because it is giving you understand. Wow, it can be like this also. Like wow, I didn't expect this. Yeah.
Had assemblies. We don't know how representative these assemblies were or how elections were held, and these states were usually ruled by kings, so they probably weren't entirely representative democracies in the strict sense anyway. But a Greek historian named Diodorus, who lived in the 1st century BCE, does refer to some of the states.
Yeah, I see your message, Jamie Dreams, because the government should be scared of its people, not the people scared of the government. And thank you, Jamie, for your message. And yeah, one of the thing, again, I was watching one video today, and there was video about, yeah, about that Russian society afraid pretty often to express own opinion. You can watch example YouTube channel 1420. When you're watching this video, pretty often, not every time, but pretty often you can find such thing that people they a little bit afraid to express their real opinion. And it is happening pretty often that sometimes people like trying to avoid questions like why you so hard with me, like I just a human being, and walk away, like because people scared sometimes and they have reasons to be afraid. It is not something imaginational reasons, but something what is happening right now, all this political stuff, all these events, and it is sad. And to say that, to blame people for like why you're afraid of, to blame people for not making right decisions, because come on, what is right decision in this situation? Do you know? I do not know right decisions. I mean, like, but people are afraid, and I can understand this. It doesn't mean that everyone, I want to notice this, like disagree what is happening in Russia. You can find a lot of people who agree with this. That's one of the problem. That's for some people it's not problem, for some people it is problem. It depends how you think. But yes, let's watch next.
Of India as democracies.
Yeah.
There's some question as to what he meant, because the word democracy at that time didn't have a strict definition, but it is interesting.
Yeah.
Dang, you're good.
Very good.
A parliamentary democracy is where the executive branch gets its power from and is held accountable to a legislature, or the part of the government that makes the laws. In this system, that legislature is actually called a parliament, thus the name parliamentary democracy. Get it? A presidential democracy is where the executive branch exists separately from the legislature. They have separate, distinct powers. In this system, the head of the executive branch is usually called the president, thus the name presidential democracy. Get it? Ha ha! I swear this stuff just makes sense, you know? Other representative democracies include demarchies, where citizens in a society are randomly selected to make government decisions on behalf of everyone else.
Oh, he said this too fast. Demarchy. Let's read this slowly. Where citizens in a society are randomly selected. Citizens in a society are randomly selected to make government decisions in behalf of everyone else. Okay, on behalf. Okay.
And nonpartisan democracy, where elections take place without reference to political parties.
And non-partisan democracy, elections take place without reference political parties. Yeah, I non-partisan, like it makes sense how it's named. One of the thin example, if you will look, yeah, in some countries you can have this bulletin, this paper for voting. In some countries, every weight is different. In some countries you can find this party. They have this kind of double elections, and also example guy or girl who is trying to become example governor, and at the same time they can vote for two things. Like in some elections they can afford for themselves to choose example one person but different another party. In other countries, if you're choosing this party, you must choose a person from this party. That's what I'm talking about. It depends from about which country we are talking. Usually in Russia, if you are voting for person, you can see description. Okay, you can see photo. At least before it was photo. Right now they do not have photo. It depends from region anyway. They have this description, name, last name, middle name, or another order. Description, it is like who he is, who she is, and party program maybe a little bit. That's how it looks in Russian bulletin. It is not secret. You can find this on the internet, yes.
Okay, there are also semi-direct democracies in which representatives are there for day-to-day stuff, but the citizens still make the big decisions. Both direct and representative democracies have three main ways citizens make decisions: referendums, initiatives, and recalls.
One moment, I want to see this. Representative democracies, referendums, initiatives, and recalls. Direct democracy. Okay.
Initiatives and recalls. A referendum is simply the process in which voters either approve a new law or get rid of an old law. An initiative is a process that allows citizens to introduce new things to vote on. And finally, recalls are the process of removing the power of an elected official. Okay, so I suppose we now ought to address that other category. Undemocratic governments.
This music I like. And he's so serious, like, okay, now we are talking about real stuff. Before it was just, right now, let's talk about politics. It was like hilarious how he added this music and his charisma. Yeah. Okay.
In undemocratic society,
of course, immediately we can see Russia and China, two flags together.
the people have no say about their government. They basically just have to go along with whatever their government does, whether they like it or not. In these societies, leaders get to power by, other means. Any type of government where the people have no say yet the people must obey is called an authoritarian government.
Sometimes it can be because of revolution, sometimes because, let's be honest, because, I don't know, popularity example, if we are talking about Russia, in 2000s, yeah, Putin was popular compared to previous presidents. Was there elections? It was like a transition of power because Yeltsin openly said that he's putting this person on his place, and I hope that you will like him, whatever. It was short video. You can find this pretty easily on the internet, what Yeltsin said. But one of the things that Yeah, it makes sense that laws in authoritarian countries sometimes, not sometimes, but pretty often, they're not, they just created. Nobody, pretty often not listening people. I mean, sometimes they can be good. You will be surprised. Does it mean that they will be all laws terrible? But pretty often, in percentage, majority of them, these laws created to help people or elite to be in power, not to improve quality of life of people, but to help elite of some governments stay in power. Oops. Yeah, that's what is happening pretty often in authoritarian countries. And at this moment, we can see that the amount of authoritarian countries are increasing these decades. And some experts are talking that amount of authoritarian countries will be much more. And yes.
Now let's
And democracy at the same time, amount of democracy. We will watch, of course, these lectures. So I'm talking about this so confidently because I already watched some lectures before, but we will watch about this together in future. And it is fascinating to look some statistics because it is in this situation you feel that your opinion based on facts, and it is like, wow, I like it when you're not just do not do these populist words. Yeah, you just your opinion based on some facts. It is what I want to have.
Let's run through those delicious types of authoritarian governments.
Delicious.
First, there are autocracies, or governments in which power is held by one person. The two main types of autocracies are monarchies and dictatorships. And it really just comes down to how that one person comes to power. If the person comes to power through inheritance from a parent or another relative, it's a monarchy. This person who has all the power for life, or until they are kicked out at least, is called a monarch.
Yeah, maybe you know what's happened with Russian royal family. Sad. I mean, but at the same time, yeah, it's all a result of their policy. It is like if how you will look like at this. Obviously, you can find right now some countries which have monarchy and some queens or kings. They have this just traditional role. They still rich, but they do not have same power as before, maybe centuries ago. Yeah, it is more tradition, respect to show tradition thing. In some countries they have real power. If I'm correct, I'm talking Thailand. Oh, maybe Thailand? Yeah, probably they have this king there. And I was watching one video with this guy from Thailand, and it was quite interesting. What does it mean? Oh, hello to Enemy Mouse, more gaslighting speaking to the citizens of the world. What does it mean? What do you mean by this? More gaslighting. Gaslighting and speaking to the citizens of the world. Have no idea. Oh, what do you mean? I will be happy if you will explain your opinion. Yes.
Titles of monarchs are different around the world.
And by the way, I want to tell you a couple things. That what I'm doing right now, it is, let's explain things. Let's be clear. I'm trying to understand with you some things. I'm not taking sides because I'm trying to look at this as researcher, as person who is trying to be objective, and like usually here it is important just to put away some your emotions and try to be objective. Yes, that's what I'm trying to do, just to improve my knowledge, to be better at something at least, to try to understand some stuff. And yeah, pretty often, please do not listen me if you think that I'm wrong. Correct me and or give me advice or just share with your opinion how you see stuff. If I'm wrong by your opinion, it is like and again, I'm not here to explain my thoughts, like my opinion. I'm here just to learn something new. I'm not on debate or something. Yes, here I'm for studying right now. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And I'm not talking, I will not like, obsessed with like people sometimes in toxic relationships. If I like, I will talk, everything is bad, let's do this, let's do that. No, not today, not with me. Just trying to learn and to improve my knowledge about this world.
Okay. They could be a king or queen, prince or princess, emperor or empress, archduke, duke or grand duke, emir, sultan, whatever. If the person comes to power by just taking it, often through a military takeover, then it's a dictatorship. Some dictatorships are totalitarian.
I recognize here a couple faces and even more. Yeah, sad. Quite sad.
Which means the dictator both sets the goals and controls almost all aspects of a society. Hey, you know a lot about dictatorships, don't you, David?
I like how he's referring to him. Hey, or like, hey, by the way. It is fun, it is really fun. Gosh, hey, like, I like it. Okay?
Didn't you used to be one?
I still am, in the classroom.
In the classroom.
The word dictator comes from the Romans as well. You see, when they formed their republic, some people thought that in times of crisis, such as a war, the republican system as it was might not work that well. They wanted at these times a man to be given complete and total power over the state so that quick decisions could be made. They called him a dictator, and they did use them from time to time. This man had the power of life and death over everyone in the state, but he would only be able to rule for 6 months. Then everything would go back to normal. Some men ended up abusing this power. Sulla and Julius Caesar, for example.
Caesar.
The word tyrant comes from the ancient Greeks. Originally, the word had no negative connotation. A tyrant was simply the name of an authoritarian ruler of a Greek city-state. They were quite popular in the Archaic period, but after the reign of Hippias of Athens, whom everybody hated, the word tyrant started to become distasteful. And that's one of the reasons why tyranny is considered a bad thing today, except in the classroom, where my word is law.
Yeah, of course, obviously, when my word is law, of course he just was producing, he was trying to imitate a dictatorship, because his word is law, he is law. Pretty often people are looking, like Russia at this moment, it is no dictatorship, yes, but it is far from dictatorship. It is autocracy, authoritarian regime. But it's not yet. It's not like it is like you. It's quite kind of like a long process to become dictatorship. And at this moment, at least with Putin, maybe it is maybe a little bit impossible to become for him. Maybe a little bit late for him. He's already too old to become dictator, but it doesn't mean that it is impossible. Everything is possible. Who knows, maybe after election there will be more thing. So maybe after elections, Russia became more democratic. We will not give any suggestions. Just what I'm talking about, that maybe he was trying to show this, like in my classroom, my words as law. That's what he said, something like this. And I like how he said this, because, like, can you imagine, he's professor in class? Does it mean so that his words, every word what he said, it is law in classroom? Of course not. It is like a real, sorry, but bullshit. And but he was trying to show to us how looks dictatorship, dictator, this type of government. It is quite interesting. It is interesting. Yeah.
So tyrannical. I love it. Thanks, David. Now, most autocracies are really oligarchies. An oligarchy is a government in which the power is held by just a few people. These people often have family ties, but not always, as we'll see in a bit. Throughout history, oligarchies have been the most common type of government in the world.
That's what we are talking about. Russia again, that's one of the reasons why there was sanctions against some Russian oligarchs, because Russia has oligarchs. But let's be honest, some of them, they just have a lot of lawyers, and they do not care about sanctions at all. You can find a lot of oligarchs who has, despite everything that is happening, all their families, and they're living all around Europe. Like, they have plenty amount of money. That's why, like, why to bother them? I mean, like, they're rich, they can do whatever they want. But yes, I think that it would be nice for me in future to find out more examples, like not only about Russia but other countries, where I will be able, like, oh, I know it looks like this system. Yes, that's why in future we will watch specific lectures about other countries, example on Middle East, example on Africa, and whatever, like different lectures about different countries. Yeah, we will not be only stuck to, oh, Russia, 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 Russia. No way. We will watch on different type of countries. That's what I'm talking about.
And the fact that they are losing control around the world is surprisingly a pretty recent trend.
I need to find the
What
best
does
way to
he
learn
mean?
math and science.
It's brilliant.org.
Whoa.
Brilliant has thousands.
They're losing control? I do not believe so, because I was looking some statistics. We will watch these statistics in future. At this moment, I cannot show this. Maybe we can watch together. Maybe one moment. Relax. Let's check. Oops, I have Amazon open, sorry. What I want to look. Here we can see. I was looking some statistics. Amount of what the hell? Autocratic countries. India. Why here India? we can see I've heard that India is democracy. I do not like this so much because yeah, pretty often what is it political science? Yes, this is what I was looking for about this statistic. Let's look on this statistic a little bit closer. Yeah, we will look on this statistic in future more. We can see amount of closed autocracies 13%, electoral autocracies 35%, also liberal democracies 21, and liberal electoral democracies. We can see that at this moment it is something half to half. Yeah, it is very interesting data, and based on this data you can see that amount of democracies decline, but amount of autocracies they're increasing based on this data. And yeah, quite interesting statistics. We will watch this in future in one of the lecture. Such type of statistics they will be shown in future. Yes.
Got anything to add about oligarchies, David?
Well, I always have something to add. Oligarchies are some of the oldest forms of government around. Aristocracies, for example, were one of the most common forms of government in the ancient world. Sometimes they existed in harmony with monarchies and tyrannies, with the nobility sharing power with the state head, who himself was a noble. But other times, they were formed when the nobles became discontented with single rulers and overthrew them, taking power for themselves and ruling without a king or
it was happening. You can find examples sometimes military authoritarian types of governments, and pretty often in political science you can find such a word regime, and when they're using this word regime in political science, they're not meaning that it is like bad thing, because regime pretty often in media people using as something bad. I mean something bad, really bad. But in political science, that's what I'm trying to understand. Regime they're using to any type of government. It doesn't matter it is autocracy or democracy. That's why when I will you need to know this, and I will repeat this pretty often, when I will use the word regime, I am not putting any type of other meanings as only type of government, because pretty often this idea, like, it is not my idea, to be honest. It is what is doing any political scientist. They talking about any type of government. Towards them they're using this terminology. It's not me who created this. That's why sometimes if I will use towards democracy word regime, please notice that I'm doing this because I'm looking from this from different perspective, because in political science people do so. And yeah, probably I explained this not so well, but I think you will get this in future if you didn't get this today, that because we will watch probably this lecture what I'm talking about. Anyway, and I see your message. It is interesting to see this, Alex, from Anonymous. Alex, I do not see anything in your current wish list, but I did see a book you may like, 50 States, 5,000 Ideas. Does this interest you? For me, any book is interesting. I mean, like, the most important for me it is to read these books. I mean, like, you can buy whatever book you think interesting will be. I mean, like, at this moment, what I'm interested about, books about which can help me to become specialist in political scientist, because in future I'm trying to be more objective and books usually help in this. That's why you can buy whatever book you want, and in future I promise you for sure there will be some edition in Amazon wish list. There will be, just not today. And yes, let's continue.
Or head of state. You might think this would be an improvement, but wealthy landowners often dominated the political systems to the detriment of the poorer classes. In fact, it was resentment against this kind of government that led to the establishment of the forms of government that we were just talking about.
Thanks, David. I would totally have you as part of my oligarchy team. Oh, there'd be lots of different types of
He
oligarchy.
doesn't know what can happen sometimes with oligarch if you're saying something wrong. He can be fly from the window example.
As well. I also will only go over a few specific ones here. An aristocracy is ruled by the nobility, or a small class of privileged folks who claim a higher status at birth than the rest of society.
Yes, aristocrats, quite interesting people. And aristocrats, when there was revolution in my lovely Russia, there was immigration of aristocrats from Russia to different countries. And sometimes, this subject quite challenging. It is challenging subject, but again, put away your emotions. We are trying to learn here. I'm trying to learn here something new. But there was a fact which I'm sharing right now. It is not my opinion. It is fact which happened historically. Aristocrats, they were forced to immigrate from Russia. Like, there was a few ships from Russia towards different countries, including the United States of America. And it was interesting that, interesting people, what can I tell? Rich, interesting people.
A plutocracy is ruled by the wealthy. Keep in mind that plutocratic influence can affect any type of government. For example, in a republic, if most of the elected representatives depend on money from wealthy patrons, it's basically a plutocratic republic. A stratocracy is ruled by military leaders. A theocracy is ruled by religious leaders who rule based on their religious beliefs and values. The problem with most oligarchies is that they are often just kleptocracies. A kleptocracy is a type of government in which those in power are corrupt and they're at the expense of the governed. You know, like spending taxpayer money on lavish mansions for themselves, stuff like that.
Oops.
And finally, anarchy! Anarchy just means a society with no government. Throughout history, anarchy has often happened as a natural yet temporary result of a violent revolution or civil war within a country where an established government has been destroyed and a new government has yet to take its place. That said, there is a sizable group of anarchists out there who think governments should not exist. Many also believe that one day societies can reach a point where governments are no longer needed. Now, there are adjectives, words that we can use to describe governments to further distinguish them. We all love adjectives, except that they can make things more complicated. A big adjective used to describe governments is constitutional. If a government has a constitution that formally limits its power, it's constitutional. While representative democracies commonly have constitutions, did you know some monarchies do too? Yep. There
Yep.
are constitutional monarchies in which the monarch's powers are limited by a constitution. At this point in the video, I have probably made a lot of political science dorks upset, so I will wrap things up by stressing that I have really simplified government types for the sake of clarity in this video. You see, every government is unique, and often a society's government is a combination of different governments with weird qualifiers and caveats. Take my home country, for example, the United States. I've always taught my American government students that the United States is a representative democracy. Oh, and a republic. Oh, and a constitutional republic. Oh, and a democratic republic. So yeah, I just really like to confuse my students, and I guess I like
Yeah.
to confuse you too. And now the moment some of you have been waiting for, I will finally reveal my favorite type of government. Drum roll, please.
Okay. Ta-da-dan. Let's go.
Drum roll.
Yeah, we did it. Ah,
My favorite type of government is a republic. But more specifically, a parliamentary form of nonpartisan democracy. Basically have a parliament, we elect members of this parliament, but we do so without reference to political parties. Booyah! So do you
Yeah.
agree with me? If you don't, let me know in the comments why you have an incorrect opinion. Also, a special thank you to my friend Dr. David Miano from the channel World of Antiquity for chiming in throughout this video.
Well, thanks for having me.
Sure thing. Be sure to check out.
yes, he's definitely fit. Sam Smith Q, completely agree with you. And I think that for today it was an amazing live stream. In this live stream I was trying to understand types of governments, and as I promised to myself and to you, of course I promised to you that I will watch in future a little bit more videos about political videos which can help me to understand a little bit better about different types of government, different types of elections, how people count in these elections, how people measure this, what kind of formula people use for making like percentages and stuff like this. In future we will do this a lot of lecture stuff. We will watch this tomorrow. Also something interesting there will be for sure. Every time we will watch, example, today I wanted to watch with you some embassy from Canada about autocracies, but anyway, what I'm trying to tell right now to you that because of my goal, which I hope that is quite clear, I want to be objective and to have kind of knowledge where my opinion will be based on facts and interesting information. Today, not sure how that type of government is out in place by the people. What do you mean? What do you mean? Okay, one of the things what I'm trying to do today, I was not expressing my personal opinion. I was trying not to express this about anything. I was just trying to understand. The main point today to learn something new. The main point today to find some knowledge and in future to use this knowledge in conversation example, or just to be aware about some stuff just for yourself and to have this. It is quite cool to understand what is happening around. But yes, I hope anyway that for you this live stream was enjoyable. Really hope. Tomorrow will be also live stream, and probably tomorrow live stream will be much longer because today we was watching video which is quite short, 20 minutes, and it is not usually like so long. Usually our live streams will be much longer, like 2 hours. 2 hours it will be, or even more, because lectures can be usually 1 hour only lecture, but we can imagine that sometimes I'm doing some additional like conversation in additional. Anyway, hope that you will smash this like button. It will be amazing. You can leave your comments if you're watching after this live stream. I'm hugging all of you anyway. And yes, you're the best, you're amazing. Try to be yourself. It doesn't matter where you are living in. It doesn't matter on which type of governments you are living. If you are living in autocracy or you're living in democracy, elective, selective, doesn't matter. Wishing you all of the best. You're amazing. I'm hugging you, and as always, see you next time.